Let's talk about a forgotten empire, one that stood shoulder to shoulder with the great pharaohs of Egypt and the mighty Hittite kings. But this isn't just a story about lost power. Nope, it's about a secret hidden deep inside their ancient records that seriously challenges a key part of human history as we know it. All right, let's get into it.
So here's the big question, the head-scratcher that's had historians buzzing for a long time. On a clay tablet, a peace treaty of all things, you find the names of gods from the Rig Veda, the ancient sacred text of India. The thing is, this tablet wasn't dug up in India. It was found thousands of miles away, right in the heart of what we call the Near East. How on earth did that happen?
To figure this out, we're going to have to put on our archaeological detective hats. Our investigation starts by winding the clock way back, 3,500 years, to a world run by kings, chariots, and massive, sprawling empires.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Around 1400 BCE, the world stage was dominated by some serious superpowers. You've got New Kingdom Egypt, of course, with its legendary pharaohs. You have Kasip Babylonia and the super tough Hittite Empire. But right in the middle of all of them, holding its own, was a fourth major player, the Mitanni Empire.
Now, the Mitanni controlled this absolutely crucial piece of real estate, basically the crossroads of the ancient world in modern-day northern Syria and Iraq. This made them a huge deal, politically and militarily. They were powerful enough to be making treaties and even arranging royal marriages with the pharaohs in Egypt.
So who exactly were these people? The ones at the very center of our mystery. Let's zoom in and get to know the Mitanni a little better.
For about 200 years, the Mitanni kingdom was a genuine powerhouse. Most of the people there spoke a language called Hurrian, which is fascinating because it's not really related to any other languages in the area. And get this, their capital city, Washukani, it's one of archaeology's biggest mysteries because we still haven't found it. This just shows you they weren't some small local kingdom, they were true rivals to the greatest empires of the day.
Now this is where it starts to get really weird. Our first big clue in cracking this case doesn't come from a broken pot or a buried palace. It comes from words. Specifically, the words used by the people in charge, the Mitanni ruling class.
The backbone of the Mitanni military was this elite group of chariot warriors. They were called the Marianu. These guys were the knights of their day, a noble class known for being absolute masters of chariot warfare. Just keep that word in your head, Marianu.
Okay, you ready for this? That Mitanni word, Marianu, is incredibly similar to an ancient Sanskrit word, Maurya, which means young warrior. Come on, that parallel is just way too close to be a coincidence. This is our first real, concrete link between Syria and ancient India.
And it wasn't just that one word, it was a whole pattern. The Mitanni elite, the rulers, they used names that came from an early form of Sanskrit. This language is part of the Indo-Aryan family, which spread across ancient Iran and northern India. They even used these Indo-Aryan words in their horse training manuals. And believe me, they were famous for being the best horse trainers around.
Let me give you a perfect example so you can see what I mean. There was a Mitanni king named Satyavasa. His name is basically a direct version of the Sanskrit phrase Satyavak, which means he whose speech is true. So the very identity of their kings was tied up in a language from thousands of miles away. It's wild.
The language clues are pretty compelling, right? But the final piece of evidence, the smoking gun, well, it's the most powerful of all. It comes from an official state document, a treaty sworn in front of the gods. So, picture this. The year is about 1380 BCE. The Mitanni king, Argai Sadiwaza, is signing a peace treaty with the super powerful Hittite king. And to make this deal legit, to really seal it, both sides swore oaths and called upon their gods to be the divine witnesses.
And there it is, written right on the clay tablet. The Mitanni king calls out his witnesses, Mitra, Varuna, Indra, and the Nasacha twins. Now, if you know anything at all about ancient Indian religion, those names should be setting off all kinds of bells.
So why is this such a huge deal? Well, first off, these aren't some minor local gods. They are major deities right out of the Rig Veda. Second, the order they list them in, Mitra, Varuna, Indra, Nasatya, it's the exact same grouping you find in the Vedic texts. And here's the kicker, this treaty from Syria is one of the earliest written records of these gods ever found, anywhere.
This evidence just forces us to step back and ask some much bigger questions. What does an Indo-Aryan ruling class in Syria actually mean for how we understand the ancient world, for how culture spread and people moved around?
For a really long time, the main explanation for this was something called the Aryan invasion theory.
It was an idea from the 19th century that basically said Indo-Aryan language and culture came to India in a simple, one-way trip from the north. It was a straightforward model, but as we found more stuff, it's gotten, well, a lot more complicated.
And the Mitanni evidence? It completely messes with that old, simple picture. Instead of a one-way street heading into India, it suggests a much more complex, messy history of people moving all over the place. These Indo-Aryan speakers were clearly active across a huge part of Asia, not just marching in one direction.
So let's just recap what we've found. We've got royal names with clear Sanskrit roots, an elite warrior class, the Marianu, with a name linked to the Sanskrit Maurya. We have 4 major Vedic gods being called on as witnesses in a state treaty. And we've got the technical terms for their best technology, the chariot, also coming from Indo-Arya. I mean, the evidence is just, it's overwhelming.
The story of the Mitanni really proves that our ancient world was so much more connected than we ever gave it credit for. It's a great reminder that history isn't just a bunch of separate stories, it's this complex, tangled web of people interacting. And it leaves you with this incredible question. If a connection this deep could be completely lost to time and then found again on a little clay tablet, what other hidden histories are still buried out there, just waiting for us to find them?